Well, hi everyone. I'm Two Works for You Storm Shield Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony. It is time for another edition of Weatherwise, and in this edition of Weatherwise, we are surely going to talk about November. But first, let's review October, as it was a very warm and dry month. In fact, it was the fifth warmest month of October on record. The average high near 80 degrees, the average low near 58. That's nearly 7 degrees above average. The warmest temperature we had, 90 degrees on the 5th and the 17th. The coolest it got was 41 on October 21st, and we came up with about an inch of rainfall in the deficit. But as we look at November, we look at average highs at the beginning of the month in the upper 60s, average lows in the mid-40s. By the end of the month, the average highs are in the mid-50s. The average lows are closer to the freezing mark. So all in all, we're not that far behind in terms of average freeze. We should have our average first light freeze by November 2nd. So we are a little bit behind there, but our first hard freeze, meaning a temperature of 28 degrees or colder, typically doesn't come until November 14th, and a hard killing freeze, temperature below 24 degrees, on average comes around November 26th. So we're right in that ballpark, and there is time to get back to average. Now, as we take a look at future track, we're going to detail the blue, of course, the colder air, the greens and the yellows. That's going to be some cool or mild air. And notice as we head toward this weekend, November 5th, we're looking at cooler air coming into the picture. So there's a chance with this cold front that's coming through this week that we could have some nice cool air. It'll finally feel like fall and like November. Notice by November 9th, middle part of next week, some of that colder air is even getting closer. So it looks like at least we've broken this unusually warm pattern, and we're staying somewhat closer to average, maybe slightly above average, but the colder and colder air just continues to seep down across the continental United States, getting closer and closer. So maybe sometime around November 15th, we could have our first freeze of the season. I look for November to be cooler than October. That's not going to be hard, but cooler than October, but temperatures probably all in all when averaged out will be above average. Will also likely be drier than average. Typically in La Nina or neutral situations, we end up with below average precipitation. That's the trend, and I think that'll carry over into the month of November. First freeze middle of the month, and right now if you're planning for Thanksgiving travel, I think it's going to be fine. Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri. I'm not sure about the Northeast or the Pacific Northwest. Pacific Northwest probably going to have some stormy weather. The Northeast always has potential this time of the year. But that's it for this edition of Weatherwise, and you can always check out our forecasts at KJRH.com.